If you are receiving this, that's awesome.
You know what? Educated people are hot.
Oh, really? Why?
Well, it's because they got more degrees.
I hadn't thought of that.
Right?
You know, I'm renovating my house.
Mm-hmm.
And the first floor is going great.
Yeah.
But the second floor is another story.
Say, what's the most popular time for a dentist appointment?
Oh, I know this one.
What is it?
2:30.
My man, high five. Welcome to the Intergalactic Boombox, where every voice you hear comes out of me, Kyle Hebert, who will attempt to convince you that these are living, breathing characters on board a podcasting spaceship. Gee, self-indulgent much? Ouch, Gits. Thanks for the gut punch. That's less painful than a nut punch. True facts.
Oi, 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 oi.
Yes, Shiggles?
I got a question about voice actors.
Oh, my profession? Oh, okay, go on.
What is with you lot always talking to yourselves?
Well, you know, creating characters, it's a fun way to work on the craft. You know, something we can file away in our toolbox for future use in auditions or on the fly during sessions where we have to come up with something on the spot.
I prefer to think of you as utterly insane.
There's also that. Yeah, or padding a podcast. Hey, yo, bro, your meta is showing.
What's a meta?
Nothing. What's the matter with you?
The question of the week.
What app or apps do you use to find something to eat? Yelp, Siri, Alexa, your goat, your pig, your monkey. Fellow voice actor Kara Edwards, who's Videl and Goten on Dragon Ball Z, says, Find Me GF. It's an app that lists restaurants that serve gluten-free items, and then they are rated by customers. Joshua Gordy says Google. I know. Anticlimactic. Melissa says Open Table is pretty reliable with online reservations. Yeah, when I get to a restaurant that's really crowded, I always curse myself for not using Open Table ahead of time. Great Alexander says locally, DoorDash. Look at what's on there, decide where to go. Out of town, Google Maps, actually. Jeff Hardy Rules says Google. Ray Raven says I usually just use Google Maps and scroll through what's near me in the reviews. I'm a picky eater, so I don't go exploring food much. Getting a lot of Google love tonight. Yeah, once I find something I like, I just rotate 3 or 4 different restaurants during the week, and I rarely change it up.
New question.
Leiji Matsumoto, creator of classic sci-fi anime and manga titles like Captain Harlock, Space Battleship Yamato, known better under the dub in North America and English-speaking nations as Star Blazers, passed away at age 85 of acute heart failure. Now, if those titles were before your time, perhaps the Daft Punk music video One More Time will ring a bell? New question of the week, which of his projects, assuming you know any of them, were you a fan of? Biggest one for me is Space Battleship Yamato, which I never saw in subtitle form, but I saw it in edited English as Star Blazers, growing up in the 70s. There was a push for all these networks to try and get sci-fi programming like Outer Space Adventures, so every day after school, I'd see Battle of the Planets and Star Blazers. They would air back to back. Matsumoto also was responsible for Queen Emeraldus, Galaxy 999, Interstellar 5555. Sounds like phone numbers, doesn't it? His work has inspired many creators of today's anime shows and manga. So, which projects of his are you a fan of? And if you don't know anything, just ask your parents. Send a boostagram via a Podcasting 2.0 app for newpodcastapps.com. You can send a custom amount in a microtransaction that directly supports this podcast, or you can reply at BoomboxPod on Twitter. You ever have game envy? Like a game you really want to play, but it's on a console you don't own and you don't want to throw down a bunch of money just to get one console for one game? Well, for everyone that wants Call of Duty on the Nintendo Switch, your wish appears to closely becoming granted. But there's always a big hairy but.
Ew.
No timeline and no mention about past titles in the franchise. It looks like for now, it's just going to be whatever new title comes out at some point in the future as a simultaneous release across all platforms. Honestly, I think that's the way it should be. I'm not a big fan of exclusive titles. I think multiplayer cross-platform is the way to go. Now, speaking of cross-platform, although I'm not sure this one will be, but it is Call of Duty, their free-to-play multiplayer Warzone is coming to iOS.
Whoa.
And actually has a release date sooner than you might think, May 15th. There's going to be exclusive events and content. Sorry, Android users, no word yet on that. Meanwhile, iPhone users can pre-order on the App Store right now and get ready for some serious pew-pew. Warner Brothers continues to act like a crazy car salesman. Instead of slashing prices, they're slashing projects. Next up, reportedly on the chopping block, Justice League Dark for HBO Max. J.J. Abrams was lined up to produce, but that announcement was made several years ago and hasn't been a peep since. Now, given all the DC restructuring under the new regime of James Gunn and Peter Safran, it's not much of a shocker, really. After all, remember how many projects got announced in Gunn's promo video a few weeks ago? Now, one of the regular members of Justice League Dark, Swamp Thing, will make it to the big screen again. But the other supernaturally tinged heroes, namely John Constantine, chances of seeing something with that dude grow ever increasingly slim. In more DC news, you know how fans want Jason Momoa to play Lobo? Well, word on the street is that he and numerous test screening audiences are less than enthused with the upcoming Aquaman in the Lost Kingdom. And if that's the case, it would definitely seal the deal that Aquaman is done, and in more ways than one. Lobo was not among the grocery list of upcoming DC projects, but that's not to say the character couldn't show up throughout. In case you don't know who Lobo is, he's a darkly humorous, non-kid-friendly alien bounty hunter. Kind of like Lemmy from Motorhead, if he were muscular. He's got the rock star hair, looks like a cross between a Mad Max reject and a member of Kiss. And he's got a really bad attitude. Look him up and you'll quickly see why Jason Momoa is perfect for this guy. The main man, as he's referred to, appears in numerous animated projects through the years. Superman the Animated Series, Young Justice, Justice League Action, and he's even popped up in live action on the second season of Krypton, the show that nobody watched. Also, an AFI, American Film Institute, student short film. Now, you need a comic book introduction? I strongly suggest the Lobo Paramilitary Christmas Special, where he's hired by the Easter Bunny to assassinate Santa Claus. Now, the Paramilitary Christmas Special is what was made into this student short film. It features Andrew Bryniarski as Lobo. Now, that guy played Zangief in the live-action Street Fighter. Tom Gibbous as the Easter Bunny, who is more recently known as the voice of Shikamaru on Naruto. Now, if I've piqued your interest, you can actually see the Paramilitary Christmas Special in its hyper-cheesy 13-minute glory on YouTube. Just check the
Link in the show notes.
From my top-secret underground bunker in Pahrump, Nevada, where I always order my eggs sunny psyop, because the government and the media lie about everything, so trust no one. Except me, because I'm right.
I is here.
Oh, for God's sake. Propaganda, what now? Aren't you supposed to be, scanning your neck for alien implants?
Nonsense, Kenneth. I is dripping in curiosity. Have you seen the news?
Noose? Papa, I told you to take your meds.
Yes, Kenneth. News on the television.
Oh, I never watch the news. News. I can't trust a thing they're feeding us. Why would I waste my time?
Kenneth, this world is for to going to hand in a hell basket. War in ukulele. And what's with all the fighting over Justin Timberlake?
What?
Crimea River. All the military forces cannot bring King Sexy back.
I don't have time for this. Misinformation!
Well, ha!
Propaganda's being weird again.
Oh, now, Kenny, I done told you. Your father's just waking the sleeping masses. Bless his heart.
Mom, that's my job.
Kenny, I swear on Swiggity Swooty, I'm gonna spank your booty.
That's disturbing on a multitude of levels. Look, I gotta report the news. News. Why don't you just go back to cooking with gasoline?
I'll holler at you when your unleaded bison burger's ready.
Yeah, great. Page 1. All sorts of crap washes up on beaches. But 150 miles outside of Tokyo, locals became suspicious when a 5-foot metal sphere just showed up on the shore, seemingly out of nowhere. Hamamatsu Beach was quickly closed. The bomb squad determined it was hollow and posed no threat, and authorities have no clue what the hell it is. Well, they should have called me.
Whoa, wait a second. Who in Japan has your phone number?
Herbert, my landline is routed through a complex network of wires and equipment, masking my location and identity. I am 100% anonymous.
Even though you always announce who you are and where you're at every week on this podcast.
You know as well as I do that nobody is listening to this podcast.
You have a point.
Anyway, there shouldn't be any confusion. This mysterious big metal sphere is obviously Mechagodzilla's missing testicle. That's creative.
It's the truth.
You do know Godzilla's just a movie?
Giant nuclear-bred lizards and their robotic brethren causing billions of dollars in property damage that the government refuses to pay and the citizens are left in crippling debt? It's only the best documentary ever made.
I stand corrected.
Page 2. Florida is known for all sorts of hooey. Hurricanes, insane politicians, breeding like cockroaches, I tell you. State Senator Lauren Book introduced a new bill that, wait for it,
I'm waiting.
oh, go join the circus and shoot yourself out of cannon. Anyway, this lady's bill proposes that it would be illegal for dogs to hang their head or paws in the window of any moving motor vehicle on any roadway. What could possibly be the reason, Ken? Funny you should ask. To prevent viral TikTok dopamine videos? Close, but completely wrong. Oh, I know. Is it because dogs keep jumping out of cars? Not today, Margaret. The reason is to prevent airborne debris from irritating their eyes and protect their mucous membranes. But Senator, I implore you, don't you think there's a much better use of taxpayers' money? Like changing Sunshine State to something more accurate, like Humid as Hell State, or banning Ed Hardy clothes. Page 3. There are legitimate reasons for needing assistance to board planes. But things look mighty sus when the number of wheelchairs needed when the flight arrives is nowhere near those when everybody was boarding. Hey, Ken, what's the explanation? Well, there's one of two possibilities. Number 1, flying 30,000 feet magically gives everyone the ability to walk. Or 2, a bunch of bungholes are pulling a fast one to get priority boarding, especially on Southwest Airlines, where there's no assigned seating, and it's a free-for-all. Cheating Nimrods attempt all sorts of airport hacks, namely faking injuries to skip the TSA line. Actually, that's genius. I think I'll try that next time. But you didn't hear that from me. And I'm spent. That's all the news you can't use. Conspiracy here from my dump in Pahrump.
Oh, look at the time.
The Intergalactic Boombox is brought to you dubbed, subbed, and dry rubbed in Dolby Digital 2.0 Surround, DTS, and a whole lot of BS. Select listeners are bribed with our home board game, just in case you're bored. Remember, kids, silence is the sleep that nourishes wisdom. And sleep apnea machines nourishes silence. Till next time, Totals.